After the World War I, a fragile framework called the Versailles-Washington system was hastily constructed in an attempt to stabilize the post-war world. But cracks were everywhere. The resentment of the defeated festered on German soil. The flames of nationalism burned across the shattered remnants of empires, and an unprecedented economic crisis swept the globe. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Japan, a resource-starved island nation, saw the cancerous growth of militarism amid the crisis. Its gaze turned greedily toward the vast and fertile lands of East Asia. When the greed met the weak, the gears of tragedy began to turn. On September 18, 1931, the long-planned explosion hit Liutiao Lake in the city of Shenyang in northeast China. It was a blatant fabrication and a premeditated act of aggression by the Japanese Guangdong Army. In just 4 months and 18 days, the vast black soil of northeast China, 3 times the size of Japan, fell completely under occupation. The world watched in stunned silence as the most savage trampling of the post-war order unrolled. With the fall of northeast China, 30 million Chinese people struggled in humiliation and rose in desperate resistance. On the soil of northeast China, in the sternest test of ice and fire, a banner fluttered defiantly against the bitter wind. The Communist Party of China sounded its battle cry for armed resistance against Japanese aggression. This cry not only ignited the flames of China's war of resistance but also lit the first beacon of the global anti-fascist struggle. However, at that time, China was impoverished and weak. The nationalist government in Nanjing maintained negotiation while fighting, hoping that the UK and the US would restrain Japan for their own interests in China, or that the League of Nations would interfere. Meanwhile, the national government had also anticipated that the turbulent international landscape might slow down Japan's advance, which would have bought time for China to gather strength for protracted resistance. Under these dire circumstances, the heroic resistance efforts by the Chinese army in Shanghai and along the Great Wall were tragically in vain. Yet, the Japanese aggressors did not stop at that. Instead, they grew even more brazen in their invasion. To whitewash the wounds of aggression and deceive the world, on March 1, 1932, the Japanese government installed China's last emperor, Pu Yi, as a puppet ruler and established the absurd Manchukuo regime. Under the guise of the so-called Japan-Manchukuo economic integration, Japan wielded bayonets and whips to plunder ruthlessly. Timber, steel, coal. The abundant resources of northeast China were greedily siphoned to Japan, fueling the frenzied war machine. A sinister springboard for war was quietly taking shape in East Asia. China's national survival was hanging by a thread. In late 1935, inside a cave dwelling in Weiapu on the Lus Plateau, an oil lamp burning through the night witnessed a historic decision of the Chinese Communists to set aside bitter enmity and resolve to form the broadest possible united front against Japan. Shifting from resisting Japan and opposing Chiang Kai-shek to cooperating with Chiang to resist Japan, they called for guns turning outward at the invaders. Calls for unity against the Japanese aggression pierced blockades, reaching every corner of the nation. At the critical moment, Generals Zhang Xueliang and Yang Hucheng of the Nationalist Army took extraordinary action. They detained Chiang Kai-shek. The Shenyang incident shocked China and the rest of the world. At that moment, the course of history was changed. In an open telegram to the nation, Zhang and Yang put forward the 8-point proposal against Japanese aggression and called the country to cease the civil war and unite against the external enemy. The world held its breath upon the news of the incident. Every move in the East now would shape course of the World War. For national unity and survival, Mao Zedong put forward the strategy for the settlement of the Xi'an incident, and Zhou Enlai flew to Xi'an for negotiations. With wisdom, courage, and foresight, they steered the crisis toward peaceful resolution. The peaceful settlement of the Xi'an incident dispersed the smoke of a decade-long civil war. Under the banner of resisting Japanese aggression and saving the nation, the Chinese Nationalist Party and the Communist Party of China set aside their grudges and moved toward their second cooperation. The political foundation for nationwide resistance was forged amid the storm. After immense hardship, a glimmer of peace emerged in the darkness. The year 1931 was not merely the start of a regional conflict. It was the first surge of a monstrous wave, the irreversible and brutal prelude to another world war. Long before the gunfire on the Lugo Bridge on July 7, 1937, the world had already been pushed to the edge of collapse by dark undercurrents. While the world was about to be plunged into a deeper abyss of darkness, the spark of resistance had already been lit in the East.